Hey everybody, this is Brett, and it is late on Saturday night. Not too late, but it's like 11 p.m. And I was itching to talk about the impeachment and all of that yada yada, but my internet was not running very fast. And so now it is. I guess they fixed it because it looks like it's doing better. I checked it on the speed test. And the first thing that I'd like to say in regards to all that is that people think and do what they think they need to survive. And hey, sawing off Solomon. And so everyone is different. And so everyone is obviously going to have a lot of different opinions on what the government needs to do and this and that. And additionally, people are really addicted to adrenaline and polarity. And people love to see a good fight, whether it be a sporting event or a political fight. Some people really, my parents, they loved to fight. And they just couldn't get enough of it. And really, we need to get away from all of that polarity. It's really ridiculous. And the people on the outskirts, the far left and the far right politically, they don't do a whole lot for me. Kind of the same musically. I really don't like extreme musics like heavy metal. I don't like most country, but I like some country. I don't like anything that's like too rap. I don't like that either. And so you can see that I'm really not going to get grooving too much with people that are, thinking that we need to completely get rid of the military, or we need to completely go the opposite direction and start spending more. We probably really spend too much, and other countries need to start taking up some of the slack. And that's a perfect example of one of the things that sort of I agree with what Donald Trump is doing. He's trying to get some of the other countries to spend more on defense, and hopefully that would allow us to spend less. But he's really not moving in that direction because war is good business for America. Right? War is good business. There's a lot of people that make a good living from working for making military things like tanks and nuclear weapons and guns, etc., etc. Big ships. The United States has now 12 aircraft carriers. China just they have two now. They have one that they bought from Russia, an old one. And China's a big country right next to Russia. Why isn't China afraid of Russia? Probably because China is also like a dictatorship. And so they're, that Russia knows that if they mess with them, that somebody at the top will just say and push a button, whatever. But in any case, I get off on a tangent. Donald Trump is now spending more on the military than before. And I guess that he figures that we need to do that to protect ourselves when we already have so much freaking military. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But you have a lot of people that, like I said, not only depend upon the military weapons that are made, the shipbuilding, the everything, but you also have a lot of people in the military that need that kind of a job. And you see, I really don't agree with the overall everything of all of it because there are so many other things that need to be done. We need to move forward and stop making more nuclear waste, for instance, to power this electricity. It needs to be powered by the heat of the sun, right? We have a huge desert, huge deserts, and they get a lot of sun. And imagine how much of that heat could and should be harnessed to power electricity in this country. And we just don't respect it yet. We don't respect it. One example that I've told you about before is that in Arizona, they don't dry their clothes outside. Everyone in Nevada, Arizona, California, all of those places should have clotheslines outside and be drying all of their clothes out there. But see, they don't respect nature and all of that. But they're getting respect. And the more houses burn down in California, the more people lose all of their precious valuables and their pets and people. They lose people too. Ask Paradise, California, and you'll see. They'll tell you that they're starting to get some respect for nature and saving the resources and becoming conservatives. They're becoming conservatives. And when I say conservatives, what do I mean? People that conserve. Not just people that think the conservative agendas. But in any case, so you have people, everyone in the world, including all of the animals, they all want to survive. And humans have the ability to think about agendas. And you've got the political Democratic agenda and the Republican agendas. And they're very different. And the people with those agendas are very different. Because the people, if you go and you hang out in Missouri, or you go to Iowa or Texas, it's very different than the coastal regions. And so typically, you'll have the higher educated people living in city areas and or coastal regions. And those people have a completely different lifestyle and a completely different mindset than somebody like the people that live around me out here in the country. Those people, I like the clean air and I like the clean water. And generally it's quiet out here. But some of those people, not all of them, but some of those people are real freaking rednecks. And they're so different. They're so freaking different than people in the city. But you see, the truth always rises to the surface, friends. I hope you can still hear me because I was losing reception, and I think it was because that I didn't have enough upload speed, and not download speed, but my upload speed was really slow. Anyways, so when President Trump, and I hate to even say that, President Trump, because most of you know that I am not a Trump fan. I never liked Donald Trump. When he had his television program, I think I stopped watching television in about 2009, and I'm not sure if The Apprentice was on at that time or not, but I had seen it a couple of times, whether I was like at a bar, probably not at a bar, someplace where the television was blaring, and I saw The Apprentice, and I was like, I never liked Donald Trump. I've always been an anti-Trumper, but I have not totally disagreed with all of his policies, because a lot of the time throughout my life, I've said to myself, why are we giving that country $1 billion or whatever? Why are we giving them $10 million? Why? Now that I understand the world more, I kind of understand that a lot of countries do need financial help. And I don't know that that help is always going where it needs to go. Probably not. But, yeah, I believe that that needs to happen, though. But at the same time, there are a lot of people in this country that are saying, hey, we need the help. And so a lot of those same people are saying, hey, we don't want more immigrants coming into this country. And that includes some of the immigrants. Because, like, when people come in to this country, they're coming here because they want a better life. And if their lives aren't very good, that means that they're probably very, very broke and poor. And when they come here, they're going to suck the life out of the people that are already here. Now, there are immigrants that come here, obviously, that we need. And they come here and they really help this country. But they send a lot of their money, the money that they make, out of this country and back to Mexico. You see, a lot of the money that's generated in Mexico that goes into Mexico is not just from the products that's created in Mexico. It's from a couple of other things that we're all familiar with. Hispanic immigrants coming here to work, and we really need them, building houses, picking crops, etc., etc. And also from the drugs. Okay, so Americans love drugs. A lot of Americans do. I don't. But there was a time in my life, in my early 20s, when I really enjoyed doing drugs, just recreationally. And a lot of those drugs came from Mexico. And where did the money go back to? Mexico. That's where, and so the cartels there, the cartels in Mexico are not like, some people like the cartels. Guzman, whatever his name is, Juan, I don't even know his first name. But his son was arrested not too long ago, and then they had to give him back because the cartels had taken hostages and forced the government. The government gave in and gave the kid back, Guzman's kid, in the Sinaloa cartel. And so, you know, Mexico is not as advanced of a country. But at the same by the same token, our druggies need them. There are a lot of people, rich people, that love cocaine and ice, crystal meth. And so it goes on and on. Yeah, El Chapo. I can't remember his real first name, though. But in any case, you know, so there's a lot to be said for yin and yang and left and right. But do walls help? A lot of the liberals will say, no, walls don't help. Well, then just go out in your yard and take down your fence. Right now, I have a fence going around my chickens. And if I didn't have that fence up at night with electricity going around those chickens, they'd probably be dead by now. Even though I put the chicken houses really close to the house and I put a light on them and all these various things, you know, that fence creates a barrier and it at least slows them down. At least it slows down those raccoons and possums and coyotes and whatever else wants to get to my chickens at night. And so, you know, people can deny things and this and that. But there's a side to both there's always a side to both sides of the story, left and right. And the thing that I have, the problem that I have with Donald Trump, and always have had a problem with Donald Trump, is his character. And so I've always been self-employed, and I know what the deal is with being self-employed. There was a time in my life when I was very young and I was doing those drugs, etc., and drinking, etc., and smoking, all of that. And my thoughts were that I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And I was going to have all of these auto detail outlets in San Diego and Southern California. And I was going to be just cranking the bucks, right? And that was my priority. And money and power has always been, it's obvious from what Donald Trump does, that's always been his priority. And so do you want a president? Here's a question. Do you want a president who's always been focused on money and power? And what are you going to get? What are you going to get as a result of that. Okay, so a lot of people have said for a long time, going clear back to the 92 election when Ross Perot ran for president, a lot of us said, hey, it would be great to have a businessman as president. And so a whole lot of us voted for Ross Perot in 1992 because we thought, and I still agree to a degree, that having somebody that is focused and understands the dealings of money more than just politics might be a really great idea. The problem is when you get somebody that's a complete, total freaking manipulator and liar as the president, then you get a lot of problems. Because although he's done some good things to protect our country, and he really hasn't done, I mean, he's done some things, and the stock market seems to really like it. But a lot of people, like a lot of people have said, haven't really benefited all that much from it. The corporations have benefited a lot from it, and they're the ones that kind of decide how much that trickles down to everybody else. And in any case, I agree with a lot of the things that he's done to a degree, but he's kind of gone overboard on a lot of things, and he's made so many enemies that there's just, I don't believe that there's any way that he can, and he's been so immoral and unjust and such a liar that I don't believe that there's any way that he can get elected next year as president. And if you look at the polls, you'll see that he's behind every single Democratic candidate in every poll, whether it be him versus Klobuchar, whether it be him versus Bernie, any of them. He's behind all of them nationally. Now, if you look at the polls, him versus whoever in Texas, it's a different story. But if you compare him nationally, where you're comparing him versus all the states combined, he's behind in all of the polls by like at least 5 points, between 5 and 10 points. Okay, and that's because everybody in the middle doesn't want, all of us that have seen what he's done, whether it be him shoving a diplomat out of the way so that he could stand front and center. We don't agree with that kind of attitude and that kind of demeanor and making us look like thugs. We don't agree with that. And we're not willing to drop, just because the economy is good, we're not willing to accept this person as our president for another 4 years just because the economy is good. He's already done enough damage, and he's made everybody realize, it's cool that he's made everybody realize that, hey, there are a whole lot of towns in this country, and I've driven through them, that look like they're fucking dead. Small towns in America where Walmart came in and the whole downtown is dead and has been for the last 20 years and still hasn't recovered. Whether it was Walmart coming in or all the products that Walmart sells from China and wherever, and have basically put small businesses out of business. And so it's not just that, though. You see, Americans have been spoiled, and Americans are somewhat spoiled because they got rich, and then a whole lot of Asians came along and said, hey, we'll work for $2 an hour. And then a lot of business people over here said, well, that sounds good to me, and moved all their businesses over there. And now Trump is trying to somehow, some way, using tariffs, get them to come back. But it's just not right. It's just not fair. And how the balance needs to be able to come back is that people need to start living in the United States simple and peaceful and not money hungry, etc., lifestyles. That's the deal. That is the deal. Because you see, when we can live where we're living modest lifestyles and only making $5 an hour, but we're only working 20 hours a week because we don't need to buy this big house. We don't need to buy a car. We don't need to buy a college education. We don't have all these kids to pay for, etc., etc. Then we don't have to worry about competing because we can make a lot less money and just live simple lives. I've told you that people at Dancing Rabbit Eco Village make like, they can make $500 a month or less, a couple $100, and just doing simple things. And the internet is allowing us to do this. You can go and get yourself a room for rent in a house in the country and breathe clean air and drink clean water and help an old person to live, something like that, or work online for Apple computers or something. There's a zillion online jobs. And then you can go and live this peaceful and simple lifestyle, and you don't have to drive to work every freaking day, a half hour or an hour or more every single day. And so this is where we're going. This is where we're going. But you see, there's a whole lot of people out there. There are a crap load of people out there that most people are stuck in this crazy capitalist lifestyle. And there's a purpose for all of that because, you see, there are so many other people in this world that are controlled by other people, specifically North Korea, specifically any dictatorship type of a country like Russia and or China. But you see, the people have to be ready. The people have to be ready to be free, and they have to want to be free, just like Americans have to be ready to become self-employed. That's a movement up. That's a step up. All of these things are steps up in order to be, for everyone to be equal. You see, that's where we're working towards. That's what we're working towards. Everyone being equal. But a lot of people that think that they're being treated unequally need to make an effort to get respect in order to be treated equally. You see? So a whole lot of people that are not being treated right, they'll come out and protest. See, this is the opposite side of the protesters' opinions, okay? They'll come out and protest, and God bless Hong Kong, okay? God bless people in Hong Kong and people in Iraq and places all over the world. But before you can get respect and be treated equally, you've got to pay a price. You have to pay a price. And people that think that they can come up here from Mexico and just be gifted with everything it's just not going to happen. And things change. And a lot of people were able to just come to this country in the past and be allowed in. Well, that was then. This is now. Because see, back then, we needed people. We needed a whole lot of manpower and a whole lot of work. The railroad needed to be built across this country and God knows how many things. But it'll get to a certain point where people are like, okay, we've got enough people. There's a lot of people in this world. It's happening in Europe too. They're like, okay, we've got enough migrants from Morocco or Somalia or wherever the hell they're coming from. We've got enough migrants from Africa now. We don't need any more. So that's how it is. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, but I'm just talking about the truth. So I'm not here to talk about things in a mean way, anything. I'm totally in my Mars, okay? I'm totally in my Mars right now. And my Mars is in Libra. the scales. Okay, the scales, the balance between left and right, left and right. And it's always going to do that, but it's always moving towards the center. You know, I told you that. That's where God is. I'm going to read a couple of. Okay, Scott S. just pooped his pants again. Nice. Just started watching your channel. You make me smile. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jennifer. Hi, Diana. We want Trump to run Australia. Yeah, cool. Polls went wrong in 2016. Which poll are you referring to? The ones at CNN? No. I always look at Real Politics online. Real Politics has all the different polls from CNN to whoever, Gallup, all of them. Real Politics, I believe it's called. Let me look. If you just put polls into the search on Google, the first thing that comes up is realclearpolitics.com. That's what I look at. And it has that website has all the different polls. So let's see. Then you'd get chemtrails on your clothes. I'm sorry about doing Trump's power is gone. Ding dong power. Send down the amount of mental illness that's stricken the Democratic Party since the election. So I don't jump on board with like too much of that kind of thinking, the mental illness of the Democratic Party. In fact, if I were to say that anyone's got mental illness, it would definitely be the Republican Party, because basically they're just doing what their constituents want them to do. And their constituents, the people on the right, want to stick with Trump because the economy is good and because he's implementing the things that they approve of. Like I said, I don't necessarily disapprove of the policies that he's implemented. It's the character of this person that is so shitty. Okay? And for me, I'm not going to just lie out my ass and say that I'm with Donald Trump and he's our president and I respect him and this and that. No, I'm not going to do that. Most of the people on the Republican side like this guy. They actually like him. They like his character and they don't think that he's lying out his ass. He is. The problem that I have with the Republicans is that they don't recognize and realize that this person is a full-out fucking shyster, a mafioso that owns casinos in Las Vegas, in whatchamacallit, New Jersey. And that's the kind of a person this guy is. Buildings. He knows people in the cement business in New York. It's all fucking mafia. God knows how many people he knows in the mafia. Your president is highly connected to the mafia, my friends. I guarantee it. He can pull strings with them day and night. He doesn't want anyone to see his tax returns. This is the kind of president that you voted in, okay? And that's why the economy is doing well, because he's business-minded. There's a whole lot of people that are business-minded out there that aren't fucking losers. And I'm okay with them if they're Republicans. If I like them, I'll vote for them. But I will never endorse Donald Trump. And anyone that doesn't like that cannot watch my channel. I've told you this before. You can go. You can go. So those are just some of the things that I think about Donald Trump. And as far as the news is concerned, I'm really glad, though, in this case, like, that's one of the things that I'm glad with Donald Trump, because I think that he's kind of forced them to start being less trying to get ratings, because that's the thing with the news. It's kind of the same with YouTubers. Okay, the more clicks that you get, the more money you make. The higher the ratings for them, the more money they make for their commercials that they're running. Okay, and so they try and they try and create as much polarity and excitement as they can, and people love it. People love that. Fires and death and destruction and guns. People feed off of it. And see, it's like I told you before, if all of these different businesses that I don't patronize, if everyone were like me and they didn't patronize the medical industry, the health insurance industry, the fast food industry, all of these different things that I don't patronize, those businesses would be instantly out of business. And so if everyone were not subscribing to a whole lot of crazy ass shit like violent movies, a whole lot of things, then they would just cease to exist. Okay? And so that's why I like being a moderate. That's why I like being a moderate. And I like being conservative, fiscally conservative, because that's how I run my personal life. And somebody that, now I'm not saying that I've never been on food stamps, because I have. I needed that a couple of times. And so when you experience something and you maybe you had an opposite opinion of that before, but then you experience the bummer of that you really needed it, then you start to change your mind and realize that, well, we need welfare because shit happens. Shit happens to people, and not everyone is as smart as somebody else. And so people make mistakes, and people get greedy, all kinds of things. People aren't perfect. And so we have to realize that, you know, we have to be kind to people to a degree. We have to be forgiving, and we have to have compassion to a degree, etc., etc. But there's a line. There's a line. And the left are willing to go, or the left are willing to go way, way left of the line and just keep giving and giving and giving and giving. And the right are just stingy as fuck, and you cannot have, no, we're not going to give you anything, and we want to keep the money forever, and we're never going to let you get up the ladder and this and that, you know. No, but all the people on the left are not that far, or not that stupid and gullible. And not all the people on the right are that much of an asshole. You know, all the people in the center, we're the cool ones because we know balance. Mars in Libra. I've got Mars in Libra, baby. So let's see. Exactly, my dude. Yeah. He's not a sellout. Trump is not a sellout. Trump is a joker. He's not a sellout to what? Trump changes his mind about shit every other day. He'll be like, he'll get pressured on something, and then somebody else will pressure him the other way, and he'll say one thing one day and then another thing completely the next day. He's so fucking wishy-washy, it's not even funny. I mean, and he's such a freaking liar. He's only doing stuff. People think that he really cares about the country. Now, he does care about the country somewhat, but probably mostly for his own benefit. For his own benefits. Because, see, when you're an American, then you want the economy to do well. And if you're somebody that's big into money and power and you're an American, well, you want to fight for America. And you don't want to give money to other countries. And that's what he's done. And that's why a lot of people like him. But unfortunately, he's such a freaking loser and asshole about doing it all. See, there are bosses out there. Okay. There are bosses that the employees really like. And there are bosses that the employees don't like. What you now have is a president where a whole lot of the employees and or public do not like this person because he's such a jerk in so many regards. And that's all I've really got to say about him. I want to thank you all for joining me. And, you know, I'm the kind of a person that just tells it like I see it. And I hope that you can appreciate what I'm saying. I know a lot of people are not going to like it. A lot of people are in complete denial about the character of our president. It really is not a good thing that so many people are in such denial. But that's the nature of humanity. That's the nature of life. People do whatever they have to survive. And they'll lie out their asses. They'll lie straight out their freaking asses about their president, even though they know subconsciously, internally, however you want to describe it, that he is exactly the way I've described him in this video. Somebody that is just a rich snob that cares about only their own personal benefits. So I want to thank you so much, everybody. I wanted to also say, before I say that, I really like Amy Klobuchar, if that's how you say her last name. I like a few of the candidates quite a bit, but I really like Amy Klobuchar, especially after the other night. I think she is just a really great person. I think she'd be an awesome president. And she's not too far left. She's more moderate, and she's a Midwestern girl. And yeah. I also like Pete Buttigieg to a degree. He's a good guy. And I've always liked I like the character of Bernie Sanders. I like how Bernie Sanders is just like straight ahead, like he's never changed his opinion. Talking about the opposite, the exact opposite of Donald Trump in a lot of ways. Bernie Sanders, he says something and he sticks with it. I like that. But he's such an angry that, you know, I just don't know that I could stand to look at Bernie for 4 years or 8 years. And also, you know, I don't agree with free health care, which isn't even health care anyway, or free college education, which really for the most part sucks and isn't worth anything. It's only worth a piece of paper that you hang on your wall that says that you're a major in whatever. So, you know, I'm not grooving with all of that far left stuff that everyone should get free health care and all of that. So I really like Amy Klobuchar, if that's how you pronounce her last name. But it won't matter for me. Basically, whichever person wins the Democratic nomination, this time I am going to vote for them over Donald Trump. End of story. Just to spite him. Not to like spite him, but so that he is not like that sounded personal, and it can almost get personal, like for a lot of us, because we just don't like this person. But basically, we're just, a lot of us in the middle are just going to vote for whichever Democratic candidate wins the nomination just to beat Donald Trump. So thanks everybody for joining me. Be well.